Khabar baik. So sorry, ada sedikit technical glitch.
Okay, tak apa.
Alhamdulillah dapat masuk.
Alhamdulillah. Okay,
Apa Jihad?
Alhamdulillah sihat-sihat.
Kat mana tu?
Kami daripada Pagoh ni. Memang direct Pagoh.
Oh, ada di Pagoh. Okey, kasihlah jemput saya.
Terima kasih juga lah sudi untuk jadi speaker untuk sesi hari ini. Okay ke untuk kalau kita start the session?
Boleh?
Uh,
InsyaAllah.
okay,
Okay, okay.
Master MC.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good day, everyone. Let us start our session with Al-Fatihah. Welcome to the Halal and Muslim-Friendly Tourism Industry Lecture Series 2024, organized by the Kuliah of Sustainable Tourism and Contemporary Language at the International Islamic University Malaysia, co-organized by the International Institute of Halal Research and Training in Heart, and in collaboration with Islamic Tourism Malaysia, the Jamalul Chair and Maktabah Al-Bakri. This program builds upon the success of Halal and Toyib Lecture Series 2022, demonstrating IUM continued commitment to promote Muslim-friendly tourism. Before we begin, I am Ainin, tourism student from KSTCL IUM, Pagoh campus, and I'll be your MC for today's lecture series. So let me now state a few reminders. First and foremost, please mute or turn off your microphones when the speaker is presenting her lecture to avoid unnecessary noise. Secondly, if you have questions, please write down in the chat box which will be addressed by the speakers during the Q&A session, or you can click the raise hand button and speak through your device. And lastly, I would like to request all the participants to fill out the evaluation form later on for the issuance of certificate of participation in this lecture series. So on behalf of the Kuliah of Sustainable Tourism and Contemporary Language, International Islamic University Malaysia, I extend a warm welcome to all of you. We hope today's lecture series will be both useful and engaging, and that you will gain valuable insight from it. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin our talk, I would like to introduce our speaker for today. As the Malay proverb says, tak kenal maka tak cinta. Professor Madya Dr. Sharina binti Abdul Halim is an associate professor at the Institute for Environmental and Development Lestari at University Kebangsaan Malaysia UKM. She is also the Deputy Director of Lestari and the head of Research Program for Culture and Heritage Social Sustainability at the Langkawi Research Centre PPL UKM. An expert in environmental sociology, her research focuses on island and indigenous community development, sustainable livelihood, tourism, and heritage conservation. Dr. Sharina has been actively involved in significant international projects, including serving as a lead author for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC, contributing to the special 1.5 degrees Celsius report and the 6th assessment report. She is a member of the National Geopark Implementation Committee and has contributed to various international conferences and publications on sustainable tourism and environmental conservation. Her work also includes research on sustainable tourism practices in Malaysia, particularly in UNESCO Global Geopark, and community engagement in heritage conservation. In addition to her academic roles, Dr. Sharina was a visiting scholar at the Global South Study Center, University of Cologne in 2022. She has published extensively in journals focusing on socio-economic outcomes of environmental sustainability and has been involved in numerous international workshops and symposia related to sustainable development and climate actions. Dr. Sharina is also a strong advocate for integrating local communities in sustainable tourism and environmental management practices. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Professor Madya Dr. Sharina binti Abdul Halim share her insight with us entitled Sustainability Awareness as Part of Muslim-Friendly Tourism in the Case of Langkawi Geopark. Please, Dr. Sharina.
Thank you, Miss Nur Ainin Sofia. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. Salam sejahtera to the chair of this event today, Dr. Siti Salwa. Thank you for your kind invitation for me and to all dear participants who are with us today. So I'd like to share my PowerPoint. Is that okay? Yeah. If in case I have any technical problem, then I really need your help. Just a moment, inshallah. Let's try. A moment. Okay. You see anything yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, I think inshallah it's coming up. I'm sharing you my screen. And how how about now?
Still not. Okay.
Um, okay. Okay. One more time, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. How about now, doctor?
Okay, nampak. Clear.
Yes,
Okay.
Doctor. We can see.
Okay. MashaAllah, how interesting. Okay. Usually it has no problem, right? Zoom, but sometimes things just happen in the morning. Okay, so now is in the presentation mode, right? Okay,
Yes, Doctor.
all right. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I thank you again for this opportunity. And today my sharing is on the topic of sustainability awareness as part of Muslim-friendly tourism and the case of Langkawi UNESCO Global Geopark. So I'm coming from Institute for Environment and Development, Lestari, at UKM. And also now currently we have the Geopark Research Center there as part of our scientific research center that deals pretty much on the work of Geopark, not only for Malaysia, but also for the Asia Pacific region. Okay, so it is very important to link the work of Geopark, as the title goes, with the sustainability awareness. And the very new concept for me would be the Muslim-friendly tourism. So I'm very happy to know that this event this morning is also in collaboration with INHAD, because I have very good friends over INHAD, in where Dr. Aizat and formerly the student, Dr. Shahira, and now Dr. Irham. I can see him in online also. Very, very happy to see you, Dr. Irham. So I learned this from my colleagues from INHAD about this Muslim-friendly tourism, and how this is very important to be linked with sustainability in the context of Geopark. So before we go deeper into what Geopark is all about, I think let us begin with the fundamentals or the basics of sustainability, as we are very well aware that sustainability is the balance between the environment, equity, and economy. And we know that the most quoted definition that comes from the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development that state sustainability or sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. So having said that, so what do we really mean when we talk about sustainability in the context of addressing our present needs as well as not compromising the needs of our future generation? Let us, oh, my apologies. Oops, what happened? Okay, too quickly. It is about sustainability for the future. And we know that for sustainable development to be achieved, or we're moving towards achieving sustainable development, we need activities or action on the grounds that are translated through sustainable practices. And we can see there are various dimensions of sustainable practices that support ecological, human, and economic health as well as vitality from various stakeholders coming from local communities right up to the policymakers. And sustainability presumes that resources are finite and it should be used conservatively and wisely with a view to long-term priorities and consequences of the ways in which resources are used. So in simplest term, what we mean is sustainability is about our children and our grandchildren and the world we leave them and the world we will leave them. Yeah, so we hope that we will not be able to do further destruction, right? So sustainability also is linked with heritage. When we talk about our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, is about posterity, is about continuity, inshallah. And when we talk about heritage, we often see nowadays the narrative is to link heritage as well with the environmental situation, typically climate change and environmental degradation that are becoming one of our biggest challenges in our time. Yeah. So the call for action is now. We need to do something from the very micro scale to the macro scale to lead the way in striving to become more climate resilient. And when we talk about climate resilient, it actually also applies to how we view heritage or how we look at our cultural heritage, yeah, in the context of sustainability. So let us look at this very beautiful, I think, narration from this website of arts and culture by ICOMOS. So I think it's very important that we see how actually heritage and sustainability are driver of the effort that are currently on the ground towards us moving for sustainable development. So we see heritage as a driver of sustainability because we see that cultural heritage is now under recognized, yeah, as the resource for sustainable development. So this must be leveraged in order for us to achieve sustainable development goals, because we know heritage supports environmental quality, education, the inclusivity of our economy, our social cohesion, equity, and of course, our community well-being and resilience. So these are just the picture to depict the world heritage sites through the ICOMOS International Council on Monuments and Sites. Yeah, and we know that this international framework, right? These are very big framework to show how these universal values of heritage in depicting sustainability and towards realizing the goals of SDG. Yeah, so we know that sustainability is not a new word. Some people call it a jargon, right? A lot of things that we do before this, right, is actually a manifestation of what sustainability is all about. So perhaps if, to be fair, in the Western scholarly dimension, that the word sustainability was stemming from as early as 1964 in the context of culture and heritage, right? So we know that the importance of why we need to safeguard our heritage is for the benefit of our future generation. So you see the link back with the definition of sustainable development from the beginning, from the United Nations. Now we see that another global framework like ICOMOS for cultural heritage also emphasizes for the benefit of our future generation. Yeah. And this is also in line with other agenda, for instance, like SDG here. Okay. Then we see that the interconnectivity of sustainability and heritage is becoming more and more aware. Yeah? People are concerned. So people are coming together to work on how we can accelerate our activities in order to achieve the SDG goal. So it's not just about conserving or preserve the heritage. For instance, you want to conserve this beautiful mountain for what? Because of culture, not only because of culture, because of the significance of the area in terms of stability, right? In terms of the geological sense, but also the area perhaps also generate a livelihood for the community. So when we address heritage, we look at it in a very, what do you call it, and well encompassing, not just heritage per se, but how does heritage also address SDG 1, SDG 2, SDG 3, right? So it is all interconnected or intersected. So we know that when we do that, there is various kind of vulnerability that will also occur, yeah, because it's not easy to achieve all in a very holistic manner, yeah, when we talk about heritage and sustainability. Okay, and heritage conservation is also becoming increasingly utilized and adaptive. There are many approach to address heritage conservation, particularly in providing the needs of the community, while conserving, ensure that we have sustainable livelihoods, have sustainable tourism activity, and increase the belongingness of the community and the local stakeholder while conserving the heritage. Okay, and we know that heritage areas also not only are susceptible or vulnerable to climate extreme, but also to like post disaster or even wars. Yeah, so these are the kind of things that we need to acknowledge. And how to advocate the role of cultural heritage. And we see that there are so many platforms nowadays. And this example is just coming from ICOMOS, but this is not exhaustive, obviously, right? But the bottom line here is about visibility, and the advocacy must address this visibility, this fairness, sensitivity of culture, religion, and the geography of the area, right? So it is not, when we talk about heritage and sustainability, is a one size fits all approach, because we know how visibility, in order to communicate, we need to address it systematically. At what level are we addressing it? From the global perspective, from the national perspective, or from the local, or even from the village perspective? All are important. And the role of the local community, local authorities, private sectors, NGO, academia or researchers, policymakers, everyone need to have a part in advocating this heritage and sustainability in order to achieve the SDG or sustainability. Yeah. Okay. So the complexity is real because when we talk about heritage and sustainability, we know nowadays the climate change and then extreme weathers, human rights and sustainability, all of these are emerging. So because of that, we have to foster a diverse and inclusive approach. So for example, in this, I like this ICOMOS approach of depicting all the types of situation of how we can foster this culture and nature journey, yeah, because the connection between the culture and nature, or the human and the nature connection, needs to be further promoted in various levels, you know, at various levels, because there seems to be a somewhat dichotomy when we try to address human and the nature connection, when in fact it shouldn't be, right? It should be integrated, yeah, because it's one. We cannot separate ourselves from nature, yeah. And because of that, we know that why this separation shouldn't be in the first place, because it is about identification to our sense of belonging, to our heritage, and of course to our identity. Of course, in this context, is a global framework. The picture that it paints is like a universal shared values, right? But we know that at the heart of the matter, the heritage is still defined by the values that belongs to um, the specific community. Yeah? Although the universal values are shared by the global citizen, but it is more important to be appreciated and recognized by the local community, because they are the one that have to live there. They are the one that have to endure whatever challenges or opportunities that may arise from the heritage areas, okay, or heritage activities. Okay. So at the end of the day, it is about the diversity of our heritage that allows for these so-called regional identities in order to support the human dignity, peace, security, and well-being. So it is also important because we need to think local, but think global, act local, right? So the localization of the situation is also very important as we are moving as a collective whole to address this bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, we still live in one world, one earth, right? So we are sharing these resources regardless where we are in this world. And regardless how small we think our role may be, we have a role to play, inshallah. Okay. And probably, I think I have already addressed this. Okay, but in face of what all the challenges and the opportunities that we have already discussed, we know that the challenges are real, but the opportunities are also very exciting, because when we talk about cultural heritage or heritage per se, it it gives, or it opens up a room for creativity and productivity. So typically, like in areas, for example, in rural areas where a lot of migration to the urban area, so it leaves the rural areas that has a very beautiful landscape, for instance, but left with a very no job opportunities, because they are now populated by the elderly. So how does this possibility of bringing back the young people to the rural areas through creativity and innovation to promote sustainable livelihood? Yeah. So this is becoming more and more, especially in Jopa areas in the world, and especially, for instance, in countries that are rapidly moving towards aging society, like in Japan. Yeah, we can see that when we go to the Jopa areas in Japan, we see that the aging society is so real. But then through the Jopa activities, slowly, the young people are coming back to the rural areas because they see like, oh, there's a tourism potential over here. And even people who retires in the city move back into the rural area and become volunteers and things like that because they see the simulation or stimulation of the Jopak activities that are bringing back to the area that they used to live. Okay. Okay. So let's just move now to yes. Ultimately, when we talk about this cultural sustainability and heritage, we see that it is all about empowering. And the empowerment is about giving the voice to the vulnerable groups. And often we see the marginalization. Only the people who are with dominant or with power, they are able to come forward, right? So this kind of situation needs to be dealt very, how do you say, critically, but also cautiously, because sometimes when we try to be inclusive, we can also do the opposite, unintentionally. So there's a lot of strategies to go about it, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done, especially in communicating it with the local community. So protecting our heritage.
Rina,
Yes.
I'm not sure. Is it the slide is moving? Because from our side, we only see the sustainability for heritage. That part only.
Eh? You don't see this, oh, you don't see this heritage, this picture now?
No, we are currently seeing the slide on sustainability for heritage.
Oh, how about this one? Still
Still,
not?
still the same.
Uh-huh. Okay, let me try and see what happened actually. Thank you, doctor. What happened? Okay, you missed out all the beautiful pictures. Okay, okay. MashaAllah. So interesting. Sustainability, you are at sustainability for heritage. Okay, only one page here. Okay,
Yeah, we are currently seeing that.
okay. And can you see this now?
Still not. It's still in the same page.
Oh, this is the page you see. How about if I move to this ones? This page now?
Yeah, I believe that you can only see the thing in the slide only. Outside of the slide,
You cannot see. You can
yeah,
see
because I
the
believe that it's
slide
in the link
inside.
that you click, right?
Yes, it should be
Uh-huh.
linked, but it didn't. Okay, now let me see. How do I go about it, doctor? Maybe I come back later and show you the beautiful pictures. If not,
Okay.
we'll be running out of time, right? Okay, so just now we talk about empowering the vulnerability, right? Or the vulnerable groups. So we need to be careful when we try to be inclusive so that we don't do the opposite. Okay, so just now when we talk about sustainability for future and sustainability for heritage and using some example from the global frameworks like from ICOMOS, right? And we know that we have to also link sustainability as part of our religiosity or spirituality, because this is all becoming more and more crucial as we are trying to embrace the challenges of our today's situation. Yeah. And I just take an example from the book of Professor Ode Rashid Al-Jayusi that, to me, gives a very good examples of how we're trying to bridge this between the East as well as the West. Yes, concept of sustainability. So Professor Ode Al-Jayusi, in his book in 2012, Islam and Sustainable Development, right? So address the social, human, and the economic dimension of sustainability from an Islamic perspective. Typically, we always look at sustainability from the Western narrative. Yeah, although Western narrative also tried to blend with the religious views, okay, but not very widely still. So there are still room for improvement. But I think the acknowledgement for this inclusiveness is becoming more apparent nowadays. So, and in Islam, Islam is sometimes viewed as a challenge and as a threat and risk to the West, yeah, because of a lot of misunderstanding. But in this book, we are being reminded that the celebration of cultural diversity is a key component of the Islamic values, and to promote this understanding of the East and the West, and how the book actually offers these broader and deeper conventional Western ways of thinking about sustainability actually presents a very refreshing insights and very inspiring to read about how the views on Islam. Yeah. And the bottom line is about how do we promote these Islamic worldviews through education, and inshallah, hopefully, to produce innovation, to produce knowledge creation and development in supporting this kind of paradigm for sustainability, to redefine what actually constitutes a good life beyond consumerism and the production of waste. Yeah, so sustainability is also linked towards that. It's not just about conservation, but it's also about the global consumerism and this waste culture. Okay, there's amalgamation of things that when we talk about sustainability, so we can't really pinpoint one, but at the same time, we also need to address it in a more holistic manner. Okay, and because of that, how do we actually do this holistic manner? We can say it quite easily, right? Or we need to do it integratedly, we need to do it holistically, but how? Right? We need to know what is the tools, or what are the framework. So if you Google, you see a lot of tools and frameworks out there to show how sustainability, are taking place. So, for instance, the triple bottom line that try to show between the planet, the community, the economy, to show how in bringing this sustainable design. And now we are being not introduced, but in everything that we see, people talk about ESG, right? The environment, the social corporate, social governance, ESG in the businesses. So this is something that needs to be comprehended as well, because people have different definition to what they are understanding. So typically also for tools and framework for sustainability, it depends on the context and the needs of what you're trying to solve. Okay, so sustainability tools and framework is actually trying to seek for solution. Yeah, so how do we address these problems that we have in ensuring that we can create a better life for the community or for the living organisms? Okay, so that's why the topic that I have is to infuse sustainability awareness, Muslim-friendly tourism, and using the case of Joe as a model. So, and now I'm going to go deep dive into this Joe as a model for showing how sustainability in action. Yeah. So first, we must know what is UNESCO Global Geopark. Okay. So it is actually a single unified geographical areas where sites and landscape of international geological significance are managed with a holistic concept of protection, education, and sustainable development. So just like what you couldn't see earlier, the example from ICOMOS for the cultural heritage, a UNESCO Global Geopark use the geological heritage, you see? But not just geological heritage, it realizes that it needs to be connected with all other aspects of the area, natural and cultural heritage, in order to enhance the awareness and understanding of the key issues that are facing the society. Okay, so as mentioned earlier to you, when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about heritage, we also need to talk about climate change. We also need to talk about post-disaster wars and all of that. So similarly, JOPA also need to address that. Okay, so raising the awareness is very important for showcasing the importance of geological heritage in the history and the society today. So it hopes that through the JOPAC model will allow people to have that sense of pride in their region and to strengthen their identification with the area and to stimulate that local enterprise, new job, and to give a new source of income revenue generated through geotourism using the sustainable geological resources of the protected area. Okay. So essentially in JOPAC, you have to be a JOPAC, you must have this, right? You must have first geological heritage of international value. And then you must have a strong and stable management body to manage your geosite or geoheritage sites. And you must have visibility because you need to work with one another in the JOPAC and to network also with not just the JOPAC per se, but with other JOPAC, with sisters JOPAC partnership. Okay, so in the world, sorry, doctor. Now it's going back to the doctor. Are you able to see it now?
Yes.
Okay, how about this one, doctor?
Mm.
Okay, good. So the concept of JOPAC, the first thing must have on the geoheritage resources, and it is a sustainable regional development tool, but we know that it is not just for conservation of nature. So far, in a JOPAC, there is no new legal instrument. So unlike World Heritage Site, you have an act, a Heritage Act in Malaysia, 2005. But in JOPAC, in Malaysia, we do not have new legal instrument. That means it sits or lies within the existing legal mechanism. So if the geosite or geological heritage site or the cultural and the biodiversity site sits within the Department of Forestry, so it will be guided by the Forestry Act. So having said that, JOPAC really try to promote this co-management leadership of managing the heritage resources. So because of this co-management leadership, the emphasis is on local community participation and economic development in order to integrate this cultural and the natural heritage conservation. Okay, so these some example just now was from Jeju, Korea, and now from China. Okay, so globally now there are 213 UNESCO global geopark, not national geopark. And so it means there are more, but in 48 countries. Yeah? So for instance, in Malaysia also we have already 10 national geopark, which are 2 are already UNESCO global geopark, which is Langkawi and also Kinabalu. So there are more in the pipeline. So this country. Okay. These countries, they have their own networks, right? In different continents, like in European Geopark, in the Africa, in the Latin America and Caribbean, as well as in the Asia Pacific. So in Asia Pacific, Geopark have their own network. So all of this network just now, as I mentioned to you, is about networking, right? It's about visibility. So we need to work together because even though we are looking into our specific Geopark in our own territory, but actually the problem that we are trying to solve are shared, right? If we talk about climate change, if we talk about poverty, if we talk about aging society, we all share this, but we have to have our own local solution. But at the same time, these local solutions are considered best practices that can be adopted by others. Yeah? So this is how this feeling of togetherness in the Geopark family are being distributed. Okay? So the philosophy and the vision of the Geopark through the global Geopark network, as I showed you just now in the circle, right, is for conservation, for public education, for sustainable use, for example, in geotourism, and also local economic development. So we have all of these network strategies at the highest level, which is the UNESCO, through the Global Geopark Network, and scaling it down through the regional network, like the European, the Asia Pacific, and so on and so forth. And then going further down would be the National Geopark. Okay, so they are all interlinkages that needs to work together to achieve this UNESCO Global Geopark. Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier to you, Geopark is not just trying to conserve the geological heritage resources, but also trying to address these 10 topics that are the topmost addressed, okay, which is the natural resources, geohazards, climate change, education, science, culture, women, sustainable development, local and indigenous knowledge, as well as geoconservation. Okay? And because of this, the assessment of heritage or geological heritage must be done through the scientific bodies and must have substantial international peer review research that are being published, right? How do you recognize that you have these geologically outstanding universal values that needs to be shared widely? Yeah, so this documentation is crucial. We cannot just say that, for example, if you are from Selangor and you are going towards Malawati and you see the beautiful quartz ridge right in front of you, right? So you cannot say that, to me, this is the world's most beautiful quartz ridge. It has to be supported by the scientific bodies and must be published internationally, okay? And because we have this outstanding heritage, we need to govern through the management body under the national legislation again, yeah? So that shows you that there are many departments or local authorities that are working hard to ensure the conservation and the sustainability of Geopark. So typically, it comes from the federal agency, right to the state agency, to the local authorities, and to the district, and right to the village community. So like the African proverb say, it takes a village to take care of your family. So for Geopark is also, in a way, the kind of analogy applies. Yeah, and Geopark is not effective if it's not visible. Okay, so the visibility is not just through the outstanding heritage resources, but the visibility must also be translated at ground. So that means the people, the stakeholders must gain something, yeah, must feel that they gain something through these activities, that then they will feel like, okay, I really need to take care of this because this is something that is precious to me, not just in the economic sense, but in the broader sense of identity, of spirituality, and all of the other things that matters. Yeah. And these are all the things that will be connected to the networking, as I mentioned already. Okay. So targeting the SDGs, we cannot run away because SDG 2030 is just down the road. So of course, beyond that, we cannot just stop at SDG, obviously, but let's just focus on how Geopark is actually trying to achieve this SDGs, especially on the quality of education, on gender equality, decent economic growth, and of course, the number one is no poverty. So all of these are being tackled through the Geopark, yeah? And obviously, you see that tourism is the main economic driver for promoting the visibility of Geopark activities on the ground. Yeah, so there are many kinds of tourism activities that are taking in place. Of course, for Geopark, it promotes the geotourism. But before that, tourism, many already, ecotourism, nature tourism, cultural tourism, medical tourism. And today, Alhamdulillah, we are infusing this Muslim-friendly tourism, to me, is like the overall umbrella of all this tourism that we have, because the manifestation of the Muslim-friendly tourism is actually already in place if we really truly understand the role of us as the Khalifah, right? So, but how do we actually make it visible? People understand it as a very high, philosophical or idealistic to some people, yeah. So the word Khalifa, stewardship, all needs to be translated, all needs to be done in a very friendly manner, storytelling, so that people understand that when they are in a geopark, they are actually exercising their role as a Khalifa to take care of the earth resources. So the UNESCO Global Geopark slogan resonates, celebrating earth heritage, sustaining local communities. So again, it goes back to our role as a Khalifa. Okay, so this is how Muslim-friendly tourism really, to me, sits in very well with the geopark concept. It's just that at the moment, to be fair, it is not being embraced in that manner. Of course, we know that the Islamic tourism activities in Malaysia are also very active, and we have a body that looks into this Islamic tourism. And we know that we are also very well advanced, especially in the world. Malaysia are advancing in Islamic tourism activities, right? But to embrace it in the geopark concept, or I would say geopark needs to embrace, not the other way around, right? Geopark needs to embrace this Muslim-friendly tourism to ensure its successful implementation in the longer run. Okay, because I already resonate to you just now about this slogan. Because why? Geopark is not like once you are being recognized, it's forever with you. No, you have to have assessment every 4 years. Because why? We want to show that we are committed, especially the territory that says they want geopark. So because they want geopark, they need to be assessed to ensure that what they promised 4 years ago, 4 years later, they are being assessed to see, okay, did you do this and did you do that? But the beauty of that assessment is not about the output, but it is more not so much about the outcome, but the emphasis is more on the process. So, okay, 4 years ago, you promised to embrace Muslim-friendly tourism, for example, Doctor? Okay, how far have you achieved in embracing the Muslim-friendly tourism? What are the activities that you have planned for to ensure that the Muslim-friendly tourism packages, or per se, yeah, so to speak, is being embraced in the geopark philosophy, okay, or geopark concept on the ground. Okay, so this is very important, because some people think, okay, now I'm a geopark, I don't have to do anything. No, in fact, when you become a geopark, it's like a big responsibility on your shoulder to make sure that you are able to walk the talk of sustainability. Yeah. So in Malaysia, Doctor, please let me know if my time has run up, yeah? Because sometimes I tend to talk and I forget that I have time limitation, yeah. Geopark development in Malaysia is very interesting. Okay, we must appreciate the work first by the Kumpulan Warisan Geologi Malaysia, or what we call the Geological Heritage of Malaysia, already established or set up in the 90s, okay, in UKM, but also working close partnership with other university with their geologies. Because why? For geopark, you need to have this, as I told you just now, right? The scientific publication, documentation must be there in order for you to establish a geopark. Without the geological significance, it is almost impossible to do a geopark. Okay, so in the 90s already, this movement in Malaysia to establish this. But of course, in the 90s, there was no geopark, right? The idea was just to take care of the geological heritage resources, because at that time, the emphasis was not so much on the geological resources, but more on the biological diversity, right? So again, you may say, again, there are many silos. Yes, unfortunately, there are many silos. But the integration now we can see forming together, because when we already have something solid, now we can work with each other. The geology, the biodiversity, the cultural heritage, working together as part of this Geopark agenda. And in 2004, global, then the starting of this global movement under the umbrella of Global Geopark Network was formulated. Okay, and how Malaysia is very significant in the formulation, because we have our Professor Ibrahim Komo, Professor Emeritus Datuk Dr. Ibrahim Komo. He was the founder or the pioneer of this movement of Geopark at the international level, and brought it back home through the establishment of Langkawi as our first UNESCO Global Geopark in Southeast Asia. So you see or not, the timeline, the chronology is not very far. So that means Malaysia is also pioneering the work of Geopark globally. So this is a recognition to Malaysia, Alhamdulillah. Okay, and afterwards, we became the first secretariat of the Asia Pacific Geopark Network. And of course, after that is history, right? We see that after Langkawi, paved the way, Alhamdulillah, and then until now we have already 10 national geopark, as mentioned earlier. 2 became UNESCO, and our latest member is Perlis Geopark. Yeah? So the government's commitment, the government of Malaysia's commitment to utilize geopark as a platform to promote sustainability and to address the issues of sustainable development goals are very crucial, yeah, because we need the backing of government. Yes, Geopark promotes the bottom up, but we cannot deny that we also need the commitment from the government, okay, because a lot of things needs to be managed at the legislative manner when we talk about the governance mechanism, because in most of these Geopark area, we see there is this kind of contestation, like, okay, for example, in Selangor, we have Batu Caves. Okay, it's made of limestone cars, very sensitive. But at the same time, at Batu Caves, we have a temple. And then at the same time, at Batu Caves, we have ecotourism, adventure, extreme adventure activities. At the same time, at Batu Cave, there are people wanting to open a restaurant inside the cave. So you see or not, this contestation. But they're going to say to you, I was here first before Geopark. So how? How are you going to argue? It's fair, right? You cannot say, hey, now we are at Geopark. You have to abide to this. You must conserve. You must this. So it is not about telling them. This is not the way to go about Geopark. It is about creating the awareness with them together about the value of this cave, these Batu caves that needs to be preserved. Why? What happened if Batu Cave is no longer here? What will happen to the surrounding areas? There's a lot of situation that will occur, right? For example, is the natural disaster that we need to think about, because if the cave, the Batu Caves by itself, not being touched so much by the anthropogenic activities, inshallah, nothing much will happen at a very intense scale or extreme. But if there are too much of development activities in the surrounding areas on the cave itself, so these are the kind of things that needs to be addressed. So how do you go about it? So it's very, how to say, sensitive, because they're going to say, why do we need a geopark in the first place? Because our life was okay before this. So there's a lot of this kind of conversation. So they have to feel that geopark is not a deterrent, or it's not a hindrance, or it's not a problem to them, but rather geopark is, inshallah, will be able to bring the bridge of having to develop, but at the same time, do not forget that you need to take care of this area for its sustainability. And in this context, it's not just for livelihood, but it's also to prevent future disasters. So these are the kind of narrative that is being discussed on the ground. So not just for Selangor, but you can also go to Langkawi, for instance, or you can go to Perlis and all the other states that already have a national geopark. They also have this kind of challenges because geopark again is a process, it's not a destination. So we would like to work together continuously. For me as being the scientific input, but it's not just from the scientific input, like all together with the community that needs to work. And it's not just for geology, or it's not just for people culture, it's everybody, people from the IT, people from the education, people even from the health, everybody needs to put our heads together to achieve this sustainability in geopark. Yeah. So now let's go to Langkawi. Doctor, you know where this is? Oh, Machincang, yeah. The legendary Machincang. Before it was a cable car, it is called the Machincang, yeah, or the giant Machincang, based on the myth and the legends of Langkawi. Okay, so Machincang is also very significant. It is the reason why Langkawi was bestowed as the first UNESCO Global Geopark in Southeast Asia, because it is the mother or the father of Malaysia. The formation of the Cambrian of Machincang, which goes way back to 550 million years, is the epistome of the evidence of Malaysia. So, but when we go to school, when we ask the children of Langkawi, do you know why Machincang is very important to you? In fact, it's, to be fair, not just for the children in Langkawi. Even me, myself, before I started to do this work, I didn't even know until I have friends from the geology. Then I realized why it's so important to understand this geological history of Machincang. Not just to go there for cable car, of course. It's also very beautiful. Unless you are afraid of heights, it can be a little bit scary, yeah, when you go up there. But this is the kind of things that if we just talk about the storytelling from the geological perspective, it can be rather dry. Yeah. So for us to stimulate this love, this appreciation towards the rocks, it's very hard for our culture because we do not have connection to the rocks. Unlike, for example, some areas in China, in their geopark, they have connection to the rock because rocks are spirituality entities for them. Yeah, so we do not have that kind of similar connection with the rocks. Yeah, but even though we do not have that kind of so-called spiritual connection with the rocks, we understand the concept of appreciating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creation, beauty creation. So this is the kind of wonders that we need to instill in our education module. So we try to teach about geology, we teach about biodiversity, we teach about the culture, but how do we also link with the religious aspect in the educational module of geopark? So we are also working with Institute Kefahaman Islam Malaysia, IKIM, to embrace this. Yeah. So because we do not know everything, we only know a certain thing. So we need our dear friends to help us, to work with us together. And for instance, like Muslim-friendly tourism, we may not know the best way, but we can give some ideas. And together we can generate more ideas to see how this Muslim-friendly tourism and geopark are embracing each other. Okay, so these are just some example, Doctor. I was informed during one of our workshop with the school children. It's interesting that how children gives example that makes us terduduk. For instance, when we talk about rocks, they say we comes from tanah, right? Dari tanah kita, we are made from tanah, right? From the soil or from the rocks, yeah. So their connection is going back way beyond what we wanted to transfer to them, but they bring us back to our roots. For instance, like what they are saying, dari tanah kita datang kepada tanah kita kembali, or dari Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala kita datang kepada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala kita kembali. So the connection to the soil or to the rock or to the land is going to the afterlife and to the birth. So this is also the beauty of how children are also shouldn't be underestimated, because they are so creative and so clever to show us the way of how we can actually make our educational module relevant to them or exciting to them or useful for them. Yeah, so this is important. So that's why when we build our Jopak module for the school, especially, we work together with the students and the teachers, because originally, to be honest, Doctor, we didn't do that approach. Our approach was top down. The scientists develop the module. We tell you what you need to know about geopark. Then we try to implement. And then when we implement, because for Langkawi, Doctor, it's very, to me, it's very personal and very special, because we were working there for the last 17 years together, right? So there's a lot of trial and errors. And one of the trial and error is about this Jopak education module, right? So when we do the top down, like I tell you what you need to know about Jopak of your area. On the contrary, the result when we do the post, right? Post evaluation, they came up to us with, a different ways of understanding that would be better for them. Yeah. And we thought we know everything. So mashallah, what we also learned along this journey of 17 years being together with the Langkawi UNESCO Global Jopak community is very humbling for me personally, because then we realized that to do Jopak is not just one person or one stakeholder, but it actually involves multi-stakeholder, multi-dimensional perspective. Yeah, so it's a true celebration. Doctor, I would like to share this video, but now I'm a little bit nervous that you may not able to see this. I try, and please let me know if this working for you.
This is the latest blood sugar,
Sorry,
blood
but
pressure,
it has
and
to
blood
go through
oxygen
this
meter
advertisement.
developed by Singapore General Hospital. Just clip it on your finger and measure your blood sugar,
Okay.
blood pressure, and blood
How
oxygen.
about this, Doctor? Can you see this?
Basically, we can hear the voice, but the video doesn't move it.
Now? Can you see, Doctor? You see the video?
Still not.
Ah. Okay. Is there something that I can do?
I think that maybe due to that, you are sharing only part of the screen of the PowerPoint.
Okay, but Doctor can see this, right?
Yeah, we can see, and even we can hear the voice, but unfortunately, the video doesn't move it.
Ah. But now you see this speedboat.
Yeah,
Okay, you can, but unfortunately you cannot see the video.
yeah.
Oh, there is a mystery, isn't it? Because it is linked. Okay, what mystery are we having today? MashaAllah. Okay, what say you, Doctor? Shall we move first and leave the video to the end so that it
Yeah, I think that
doesn't
we
disrupt
can move.
our sharing, Doctor?
Yeah, I think that.
Okay. So I'm so sorry. My apologies. I should have anticipated all these mysteries. Okay, now we must go back. Oh, we go back. But when we go back, it doesn't allow me to go back like that. Huh? Okay, I have to go back like this. But you cannot see my slides now, right?
Yeah, we cannot see it.
Okay, don't worry. We will share again. Inshallah. Okay, let's go. Okay, now you're seeing this slide, right? But we have already advanced to this. Okay, inshallah, if we have time, if doctor allows, we can see the video at the end. So we'll see this one now, this slide, which is about moving towards this, what do you say, the, wait, it doesn't give me to this. Okay, this one, right? This, as I already shared, the embracing of Muslim-friendly tourism and geopark. Of course, it's not all bed of roses. We know this. There will be challenges, certainly opportunities, but most importantly, we want to talk about the potential synergy, okay? And when we talk about synergy, there's when I make the presentation screen, it goes back here. If I stop, then, okay, doctor, let's just see. Is this okay if I show it in this small,
Yeah,
normal?
it's
Yeah.
still clear.
Okay. So the potential synergy is something that we want to discuss further with each other, which is we see the integration of geopark, especially in relation to heritage conservation. And we see the cultural heritage linked with the nature and the ecosystem, with the bio and the geodiversity and the non-living, the building block, also with the living bio ecosystem, and also the human connection to the heritage site. So how can we bring all of these to synergize? Perhaps the potential of geotourism, which is now being conducted in most geoparks. Okay, so it is not so-called automatic when you say, because I am a geopark, therefore I promote geotourism. No, it's not so automatic, because then what we need to understand first is, what do we mean by geotourism? Is it just a branding like ecotourism and all of this? Or is it something that we want to highlight when we talk about geotourism as being a niche tourism? So that would be similar for Muslim-friendly tourism. It is a niche tourism with a niche market that can be embraced for all. So even if it's a niche, but it is meant for all. So it is not a niche, but it is exclusive. But it is actually a niche, but it is inclusive. So that's why it is not automatic when we say you're a geopark, therefore you promote geotourism. For geotourism, the word geo itself is not geology, but geo itself comes from the word of Gaia, means earth. So when we talk about earth tourism, so we cannot just focus on the geological heritage or the biodiversity or the culture, but we need to bring all of these stories together. So even though we cannot run away from acknowledging that the pivotal resources will be the geological resources, because that what the requirement to have a geopark. But when we actually implement it on the ground, we are actually bringing all of these elements together. Yeah. So geotourism is a potential of development of new activities. For example, geotrail. So geotrail is, I will show with you later, what does it mean when we say geotrail. It is actually, again, stemming back from the nature-based tourism. So you see the beauty of it when we talk about geotourism, even though it's Gaia, it's Earth, but we never disregard the other existing tourism that are surrounding it. So we bring everybody together because, again, it is not exclusive, rather inclusive. So this is something that needs to be digested, need to be understood and shared, right? So even though we promote the word geotourism, but actually what comes with it is everything that can actually learn from each other and benefit from each other. So that's why this learning and this sharing is for the added value to the existing area, right? With more information. So the idea is not just for the geological information, but with other relevant information, depending on the area that we are concerned of. Okay, so this integration is all about the strengthening, and the strengthening for what? For the infrastructure of the tourism. Okay, so tourism always, it goes back in our mind, we cannot run away, is about economic generation. Okay, yes, because it's also about sustaining the livelihood of the local community in a sustainable manner. So to do the sustainable manner, we have to provide the basic infrastructure that can promote that sustainability, okay, for protection and for monitoring, for education and for research. Because without having a proper infrastructure, then we will have challenges to manage the place that we are trying to highlight, showcase, bring people there. But if there is no proper infrastructure, then, sometimes that will cause some integrity problem to the area of our attraction, especially when we talk about nature. It's very fragile, right? It's very sensitive. So we cannot just simply go and trample because we do not know what we are stepping, especially when we talk about rocks. For all you know, we're stepping about 200 million years old of fossils. That is typical if you're in Langkawi. Or we are stepping on these old shells from the glacial period. And you think this is just a normal shells, but no, these are not normal shells. These shells are evidence of sea level rise. So these kind of things we do not know. But again, Doctor, humbling experience in the field in Pulau Anak Tikus, we were there. For all of you, I welcome you to Langkawi. Again, if you haven't been there and you have been there, welcome again to Langkawi. And Pulau Anak Tikus is a little island off the Kilim boat ride. Kilim Kars Forest Park. You can go there by a boat ride from Kilim. And when you go there, interestingly, at the first time, right, for me, 17 years ago, it is the community that tells you about the area. Oh, you see this? These are all shells. But coming together to Pulau Anak Tikus with geologists or with my friend scientists, they tell us that these are not just shells, but these are fossil trace of the ancient marine. Yeah. So community say, oh, I see, we didn't know this. We thought it's like shells. So we use our little hammers and try to take it out for shells, right? There's a lot of shells on the island. So together, the community opens our eye, and we also tell them, please do not dig this because these are trace fossils from the ancient marine life. Okay, so that kind of experience, synergy is what we need. It's not about telling them about what Geopark is, but it's actually the community has the knowledge and they can always share with us about what they what they know and what we can learn in order to make this better for the future, inshallah. So this is all the things that we experience on the ground. So truly they are what we call our geo community. So this pakcik here smiling away happily, this picture taken by Professor Dr. Nur Hayati Ahmad. They're so happy to have their life and they are fishing as a livelihood. So all of this is very important to sustain the local communities who are actually the true guardians of the area. Yeah. And I mentioned to you just now about an example of how geotourism is being conducted on the ground through the geotrails. So we have an example in Kubang Badak also, where we call it the Kubang Badak Bio-Geo Heritage Trail. Okay, so Kubang Badak also sits in the river mouth of the Sungai Kubang Badak. And is it because there's a lot of Kubang means there's a lot of badak? Is it true that they have a lot of rhinoceros? When we talk to the local community, perhaps it's not rhinoceros, but are actually buffaloes, big buffaloes. Yeah. So like this is as an expression by local name. It's like how local names get to be in the way that they are. So even like place names are being studied for cultural mapping in Langkawi because we want to connect why the name is like this and why is it significant to you, right? So like in Kilim, when we say, why is it called Kilim? So Kilim is actually, according to the local community, it means like the droppings of a big mammal. This is coming from the word from the southern Thailand. So then we know that, oh, southern Thailand has an influence here. So it is common because of the cultural or geographical continuity or contiguity between Malaysia or between Langkawi and also the southern part of Thailand. Okay, so similar for Kubang Badak, it's just a stone throw away to the southern part of Thailand, especially to Satun. Yeah, so they still have a lot of their relatives there, and the older generation still speak Southern Thailand. Younger generation cannot really speak but can understand to a certain extent. So these are the kind of cultural exchanges that we have. Okay, before we have these formal geographical boundaries. Yeah, the geo communities are also can be seen from our geo products. So the geo products are that innovative, creative activities generated from geopark. Okay, yes, you may say that before that there was no of this geopark. They were already in existence, but because of the platform of geopark, they could sell it to a bigger market. From the very micro scale, now they're becoming to the small scale industry, and to a certain extent, for example, Mama Madia here, she sells the virgin coconut oil and she already puts her product in the hotel called the Datai in Langkawi. Okay, so these are the kind of opportunities for women, especially for single mothers, to have an opportunity to improve their livelihoods. Okay, so there are many platforms. So let us all bring this platform together rather than working in silos. And that's why we are working with them. And at the same time, we are communicating with the Department of Agriculture, Jabatan Pertanian, and we're also working with Kraftangan Malaysia, and we're also working with the Amanah Ikhtiar Malaysia. So there's so many groups when we want to talk about women empowerment in the island. So we talk to them, we discuss with them, and we get to know about their needs and who are the agencies that they work closely together. Because at the end of the day, it's all about synergizing our efforts. Okay? A little bit more, Doctor, is about this book that were being put together because we want the stories from the community to be documented. in this book. So the stories from the community highlighting all the important sites for this geo trail under the geotourism package or activity. So this is a thing that the community use this little booklet and give it to the tourists as part of selling before they hop on the boat. Okay, this is the thing that of course they're going to be given a safety briefing and all that important steps, but they also have this book as a guide, because sometimes they may not have a guide on the boat. So not all guides or not all boatmen are fully trained to guide them on this journey, right? So having these little booklets will allow the tourists to appreciate what they are seeing when they go through the river of Kubang Badak. So it's a very scenic view because at the backdrop you can see the Gunung Macincang. Yeah. So this, how many is it? 11 sites. 11 sites comprising of the geology, the biology, as well as the culture. So there are all remnants of charcoal kilns. So typically in early, probably 50s, they used to have a lot of charcoal kilns because they do charcoal production from the mangroves, right? But because of the unsustainable activities, the local authorities stop, and not because only of that, the production, the numbers of product trees are not able to sustain the activities. So the traders move to another area. Okay, so no longer you see these activities in Kubang Badak, but you can see the kilns, like the ovens, the old oven, and some of them are like very old. So that means it's not just from the 1950s, but earlier. So probably during the southern Thailand community that used to reside. So that the sizes are also different. There are some big, some small, and all of that. So these are the kind of thing that links back to the community. Then now we realize why there are so many of the southern Thai influence in this northeast part of the Langkawi Island. They are very much influenced by this because most of their forefathers, grandfathers, grandmothers are coming from the southern Thailand area and they resided there. Okay. Activities that need to be celebrated through the Geo community. And then in Langkawi, we have this Friends of Geopark flag, Friends of Langkawi Geopark. And then we have the Geopark partners, Geopark ambassadors, our Geo school, Geo food, and Geo product. Why are we having all these different categories? It's because of these 5R. Okay, this 5R that we are trying to implement or instill in engaging with the communities in Geopark. Because before Geopark, they were already doing their activities. But now having a Geopark, how is that going to be beneficial for them? How is that going to improve their equity in terms of their livelihood opportunities? How is that going to bring peace, justice, and fairness in their life? It's through this 5R of rejuvenation, revitalization, regeneration, re-enchanting, as well as a revival. So it's kind of like a reminder. So if the history of the geology can remind the community about the origin of the area, that, spanning as far as 550 million years, and how is that history of the earth can be linked back to how they are living in the present time. So this kind of rekindling of community engagement in Geopark is actually being translated on the ground. So the experience that I share for you is coming from Langkawi, but the picture here is from all over UNESCO Global Geopark in the world. For example, in Celetuh, Pelabuhan Ratu Indonesia, UNESCO Global Geopark also, they are paddy farmers, but they are small scale, and it brings back the rejuvenation of this organic paddy farming that utilizes on the local wisdom. And for Kinabalu UNESCO Global Geopark, the last remaining of the Bobohizan of the Kinabalu Geopark, right? So we met the Bobohizan at Walai Tobilong. So this is also important. They are not only they are shamans, right? But they are also the keepers of the knowledge that they are now passing down to the younger generation at school. So we see this beautiful relationship between the Bobohizan and the school children. It's really wonderful. And then in Japan, still a national Geopark, Nanki Kumano Geopark, the volunteers that I told you, Doctor, about Japan facing this depopulation. So volunteers coming from the city, going back into their rural areas and becoming volunteers to encourage, stimulation of economic growth, or just the spirit of the community, so that they don't feel so disconnected with the world at large. Yeah, and Kubambada, of course, and in the West, like in Belfast, they bring exciting things for the children, like dinosaurs, and all these are all to spark the interest of the young people about the history of their place and about who they are and what they know about their own neighborhood. So this is also a sense of identity, not only to the bigger area of the state, but to their own backyard, to their own community. And in Hong Kong also, even though they are a very massive metropolitan, but in Hong Kong, the Geopark is outside of the hustle and bustle of the city metropolitan. And this is also very important to bring back the community together as a collectivistic, as a family, to make sure that Geopark can be managed together in a partnership way. Yeah. So how do we do that? Geopark family, right? It's easy to say, but a lot of effort we see. Recently, the Global Geopark Network has organized their UNESCO Global Geopark Conference in Morocco. So this one, that was in 2023, right? And at that time, when this UNESCO Global Geopark Conference was organized, the Moroccan suffered a very big, massive earthquake. Yeah, so it's, mashallah, it's just very challenging. Okay, but this is the true evidence that why we need to address natural disaster as well when we talk about Geopark. Yeah, and then when we talk about the Asia Pacific Geopark Network, also we organize our 8th. That was in Cao Bang in Vietnam. And when that was organized also, Cao Bang was hit with the typhoon from Vietnam. Yeah. Or I think the typhoon came from China but hit Vietnam. What was the name of the typhoon? I forgot. But this is also recently in September. So it's kind of interesting, the challenges that participants have to go through when we have our Geopark conferences in the world. And we also have another platform called the Geo Heritage and the Geopark Virtual Forum, which was held yesterday, comprising Bapak Yunus from the Geopark National Committee of Indonesia, Mr. Irshad Mubarak from Langkawi UNESCO Global Geopark, also from the Datai. He's also a naturalist. And then we have Mr. Silas, all the way from Brazil, Cerrido UNESCO Global Geopark, and Professor Rajiv Shaw from Japan, an expert on DRR, and of course the chair of this Geo Heritage and Geopark Virtual Forum, which is, as you said, Professor Dr. Tanot. So this is the 9th virtual forum that we had ever since we started in 2023 until this year. So this kind of communication brings the stories of Geopark together, our best practices, our challenges, and our solutions that are being shared in this virtual platform. So like in Kaubang and in Morocco, it's physical, so not everybody can go. So we need to have this virtual platform to ensure that everybody can participate based on their capacities and capabilities. And next year, Doctor, is going to be the 9th Asia Pacific Geopark Network Symposium in Langkawi. So I really welcome the Muslim-friendly tourism scholars, researchers, practitioners, enthusiasts to go together and share how Muslim-friendly tourism can be part of this whole bigger picture of this geopark, because I think geopark will really truly benefit from having this Muslim-friendly tourism principles infused into the philosophy of geopark. Yeah, and last but not the least, way forward, going back to the title of the presentation that I was given, sustainability awareness in Muslim-friendly tourism. And you see how Geopark can bridge this is actually how do we network with each other. And we know that there are so many intersectionalities that we have. For instance, in Muslim-friendly tourism, you have a whole group of people, of communities that we can intersect with, and the kind of multi-badging that we have, not just Geopark, but Geopark, and then within a Geopark can have a World Heritage Site, within a World Heritage Site can have a Man and Biosphere, can have a Ramsar Site, can have a national park, so many multi-badging. So we don't have to be exclusive, rather we should be inclusive. So to be inclusive, there needs to be more of this awareness, education, capacity building, all of this crucial, because all of this work that we are doing, we need to document it, and we need to share with it and spread the good work so that it can be captured in an inventory manner. We need to have a database so that we can share resources. At the moment, to be honest, Doctor, there is no one platform that we can go, right? To seek more information about Geopark. You gotta go to various platform or various websites, yeah, to find more about Geopark. Of course, you have the UNESCO Global Geopark website, but I'm talking about the like, for example, in Malaysia. So this is where we realize this already, but we are trying to come to bring about this platform so that it can be a one-stop center, a portal for everybody to access information so that it can be distributed widely. So we cannot not do this without the research development entity, and we cannot have this implemented successfully. We do not have the commitment from the policymaker through their governance and through their institutional mechanism. So having said that, Doctor, I'd like to thank you very much, and to all the participants for listening, and my apologies to the hiccups in terms of our technical glitches. So thank you very much again, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Sharina, for the sharing. So we will now having our Q&A session. So if you guys have any question, please use the raise hand button. Or you can put your question in the chat box.
I do have a question.
All right, Dr. Salma.
First of all, I think thank you very much, Sharia, for this such fruitful sharing. For me, at the first place, I would say that this such an eye opener, since I'm beginning to understand all the A from A. Actually, everything is just new for me, and interesting to get to know this information. And I do aware that the existing of a Muslim-friendly framework related to Geopark. From your perspective, I just want to ask, do you think that the direction of this idea to bring up the concept of Muslim friendly and geopark together, and how this actually can be materialized? Because we do have framework, but materialize it, because I after seeing this, I think that how actually struggle in the sense of sustaining geopark itself is require a lot of effort, which is a lot of people need to contribute. And we wish to add another thing in that, which is Muslim friendly. How that, do you think that possibility to materialize the idea, or it will stand as a framework je?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. No, I believe, inshallah, with all my heart, I believe that it should be coming together, this Muslim-friendly tourism framework with Geopark. So because Geopark is just like a tool, right? And a tool needs framework. How do you want to achieve something, especially in terms of how do you solve a certain kind of problem? So as mentioned earlier to you, Doctor, when we do Geopark, we use tourism as our main vehicle of income generation, yeah, and we introduce many sustainable activities through Geopark, innovative activities. So this is where I see this Muslim-friendly tourism framework can be, how do you say, part and parcel of this idea of how to achieve this. If I may use a problem of waste. Waste is a big problem for tourism. And waste is still the number one problem until today. And there's so many mechanism to what have you out there to address waste, right? Even like now, the latest one, circular economy, waste to wealth and all this. Why not we go back to the roots of our religious essence, right? Through the religious and spirituality connection through this Muslim-friendly tourism framework. I'm not well versed of that. I'm becoming more aware because I have some small conversation with colleagues from INHAT, but certainly there needs to be more deeper conversation about this, how this waste problem and Geopark, we bring tourism, but we also bring the idea of conservation. But still, waste is still a problem. So this sustainability paradigm must be embraced from the roots. The idea is that we cannot tackle it like we just want one quick fix and everything is solved. This is not happening. We know that this is going to take a process. It's something that a journey that we need to go with together, but it has to start somewhere from the roots. A lot of the fixes are quick fixes, just trying to address it now, reactive, ad hoc, right? Give monetary incentives to the people so that they do not, throw their waste unsustainably. But monetary incentive also is obviously not a solution, as we can see. Yes, it can be one of the approach, but it's not the only, because we see that there are still more problems of waste. And I'm talking, to be fair, this is in the case of Langkawi, right? All these activities. So have this Muslim-friendly tourism framework been tested with any of the Geopark? Not yet. So this is an opportunity to test it. We can only know if it works or not if we actually not test as in just to do it for fun, but to really see how this is be able to be translated on the ground. Because you're right, we have so many frameworks out there, like we need another one, right? But we do need another one. And especially when this framework, like Muslim-friendly tourism framework, goes back to addressing the roots of the matter by the utilization of the connection with our religious and spirituality connection. So this is something that we can really go, and have more discussion, especially just go to the ground and see how the acceptance of the communities. Communities are very accepting, actually. So this is the exciting part, because they are always wanting to, try some new things together. So yeah, that's my answer to that, Doctor. So I encourage you perhaps we can do some collaboration together, inshallah.
That will be great. Ya Allah.
Okay, if there's anyone who have any questions? Okay, I see that there's no question by the audience. So thank you, Doctor, for your answer. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of today's lecture, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our distinguished speaker for her insightful and engaging presentation on sustainable awareness as part of Muslim-friendly tourism in the case of Langkawi Geopark. So we hope you find today's talk informative and beneficial for your future. And from today's lecture, we can see that sustainability awareness as part of Muslim-friendly tourism in Langkawi Geopark offers significant benefits by promoting responsible tourism practices that align with both environmental conservation and Islamic principle. As specified by Dr. Sharina just now, think local and act global is a catchphrase for today by integrating local environmental conservation efforts with global sustainable tourism practices. And then it is also interesting to know about history, culture, and also sustainable practices in Langkawi Geopark that are done by the local community. And now we know that community engagement in Geopark is very important because it relates to the 5R that Dr. Sharina shared just now. So I also want to express our gratitude to all of you, our attendees, for today's participation and thoughtful questions. Your engagement is what makes this event truly special and impactful. Before we conclude, I'd like to remind all of you to fill out the evaluation form available in the chat box for the issuance of certificate of participation in this lecture series. Your feedback is invaluable in helping us improve the future events. So we also would like to invite you to stay connected and join us for the upcoming event of the lecture series, which promise to be equally enriching. So let us close our session with Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-As. Thank you once again for being with us today. Have a great day and Assalamualaikum. Thank you,
very
Doctor.
much, Dr. Sharina.
Thank you, Dr.
Marine. Thank you, Dr. Siti, Salwa, and thank you, everyone.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Doctor.
Salam warahmatullah.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you.